This episode of Convert to Raid is brought to you in part by mumbleboxes.com. Get connected with your guild or team no matter how big, and you can save 20% when signing up. Just head to mumbleboxes.com and use that promo code CTR. Welcome home, Raiders. This week, 6.0 Tober hits Azeroth right in the face. We've got lots of new things to talk about, and Blizz has got some fixing to do. This is CTR 159.
You're listening to Convert to Raid, the podcast for raiders in the world of Warcraft.
The Convert to Raid podcast power station in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is October 19th, 2014, and it is now 11:04 in the morning, Central Daylight Time. And thank you so much for joining us from all around World of Warcraft land. And hello, my name is Pat Krane. I'm the host of this little shindig, and known as Zug around Airy Peak, still, U.S. And I'm still raiding. Last week, I was off the bench. We'll talk about it in a little bit. And as always, the players are here. We'll go to serene Seattle to, inside someplace, somewhere, actually. It's Dairies!
It's back to rainy Seattle. I don't know, we don't have a rhyme for that, but it's just rain.
Slippery.
Yeah, slippery Seattle. Back there.
That's
so
good.
I found myself in this wonderful treasure trove. I'm just going to hide out here until April and just count up.
And no one will find you.
No one will find me.
No one will find you ever. All right, well, let's go to our other player. And no, it's not Coltrane. Coltrane's out this week. But to replace Coltrane, not that we could ever replace him, but to maybe, kind of get some really good insight on the game. Right now, we go to Sweden. You know him from Method. It's Treckie. Hey, Trek.
I'm afraid it's raining over here as well.
It's raining everywhere. It doesn't matter. How you doing, bud?
But I'm doing fine. I sadly do not have any fortune cookies for anyone. So
sadly, no.
Oh, wait, hold on a sec. There we go. Got to get the applause going. We made it 1 week. Last week we got 3 from Halinka. And this week nothing, which is good. It all averages out then.
Yeah.
So
we're the best.
But welcome to the show. Thanks for popping in here. And we have a lot of stuff to cover. Not a lot of news, as we were kind of talking about before the show, because there's just everybody's playing. The news is that 6.0 dropped, and now they're trying to fix some of the stuff, and so that's what happens.
Yeah, it's been a lot, for sure that happened.
Yep. So Trekkie, let's start with you. What have you been doing in 6.0 Tober so far?
Oh, I've been doing a lot of runs, a lot of raiding, and a lot of legacy raids, actually, like farming mounts. I got the Ultraxian mount this week, actually.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So it's been pretty good, and then doing some Jugsaran mount runs as well. It's a lot easier, so it's a lot of fun, actually, soloing old content now. So
and it is much easier, as you were saying before?
Yeah, you kill everything with no worries at all, as any class as well.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll talk more about that in a little bit here. Darius, how about you? What have you been up to in-game this week?
I've been murdering a lot of frogs. Yeah, it's a great frog purge.
That's all I've seen is like you go to Timeless Isle and it's just dead frogs everywhere.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
So it's just I'm just getting coins for gear upgrades and such. My priest I hadn't touched in almost a year, and I went through and upgraded all the gear on that guy, just murdering frogs. Thank you, frogs, for your sacrifice.
That's good. That's good. I know that. So I have a question for you guys, because this week I haven't been playing too much, but I did get some new gear, and I got a little orb weaver. I got the Razer Orb Weaver, and I got the Logitech G600. So I'm trying. I went from a 5-button mouse to a 12-button mouse, and it's kind of freaky, or 20-button mouse, or however many buttons are on there. And it's an adjustment. I was not used to that. Now, let's talk equipment here real quick, because Trekkie, I think you use something similar, right?
I got the Orb Weaver as well. It's a little bit...
Yours is trash!
Wow.
Wow. That is crazy.
Nobody looks at it anyways, so it's fine. But I do have the Orb Weaver, yeah.
How do you like that? I mean, obviously you're using the hell out of it, right?
Yeah. I've used it for 2 years. I actually ordered it as soon as I saw it came out, actually, because I've really liked using the old one, but it was mechanical, or there was membrane keys. So as soon as I saw this one was mechanical keys, I just pretty much ordered it right away.
Right on.
And I love it. It's like it took like 2 weeks of basically being useless before you get used to it, but after that it's hard going back to keyboard.
Seriously, I think I'm already used to being useless. That's fine. I was sitting on the bench for like a month while those other yahoos tried to clear Garrosh. So
don't worry, the hunters have occupied that one now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Hey hunters, welcome to my spot.
I'm okay with these changes. I'm okay with that.
All the class changes and stuff. Yeah,
I'm okay with hunters riding the pine,
as long as you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, now that Shadow Priests are back in the middle of the pack.
Right.
And not at the bottom.
Right. Well, and we'll talk about that in a second, too. Darius, what do you use for hardware?
I have... I'm pretty sure I'm sponsored by Razer. They just don't know it. So I've got...
or maybe Razer is sponsored by you.
Yeah, maybe that's it. So I've got my Naga, my 2014 Naga, the new one that I use, and I could never use any other mouse after that. And then I have an Anasi keyboard, which is it's like a regular keyboard, but it's got 7 buttons right below the space bar for your thumb. So It's got whatever you want to put there. So I use those all the time. As 7 extra buttons on the keyboard, and then I've got a Megalodon head set and a Razer mousepad. So just about everything is Razer.
Right on. But it's kind of interesting because I know that the 2 big competitors are Logitech and Razer, and so you can go with G600 or the Naga, and everybody's talking about the 2014 Naga, not the old one. Nobody. I think everybody agrees. Nobody likes that one. But the 2014 people like, and then for the what do you even call what the Orb Weaver is? Is it like
a keypad?
A keypad? Okay, so there's that, or there's the G13 from Logitech, and so it was kind of like, okay, well, what do I go with? Because it's going to be weird no matter what. And now I just have to get used to it, and it's weird. It is strange trying to get used to, especially the gamepad or the keypad. Trying to get used to that is kind of nightmarish, actually.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's good times trying to figure that out, but I'm trying to figure all that stuff out before Warlords so that I can just roll, right?
Yeah,
so that I can just.
You got practice time now.
Yeah. Got lots of practice time. We've got a month. We've got 4 weeks.
Yeah, I went from a Naga Hex, the 6-button one, to the Naga 2014 during, I think, mid progress, and I was like, I'm just not gonna use this one. There's no way.
Right.
Like, I can't use this one during progress. It's like more buttons, nice and all, but it's not gonna work. I'm gonna have to be used.
Right.
It becomes muscle memory. It becomes second nature to hit all the buttons, and when you completely change them all, it's a bad thing. I did the same thing with my keyboard. I swapped it mid progression a while ago, and it was just like I was like, I got all these buttons and I want to hit them, but I just kept fat fingering, everything wrong. It'd be like a Devo on the pull.
Yep.
Because I'd fat finger that.
To be honest, I don't even know how I'm really gonna get this all set up, because I mean, you can pretty much program it to any number of keys that you want to, and I'm just like, okay, well, what's gonna be the best thing over the course of time? And I still have no clue. I'm like, and of course I've gotten like maybe a half hour of playtime this week so far. So I just
now you got all these extra keybinds and no buttons anymore on your bars.
That's right. That's right. Well, and that's the other thing, is that there are no more spells. ever.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's good. I do want to talk about a couple of things before we actually get into kind of the bulk of the show that we're going to call the Raiden news, even though it's just kind of like 6.0 stuff. First thing is that the Blizzard store went up this week, which is good because now you can get all your gear for BlizzCon. So they've got all the new stuff in there. They've got like full-fledged costumes. I was noticing they have like costumes of like for Halloween or whatever. I'm like, this is so strange. But you can go check it out, and it's all up there. And we decided to do kind of the same thing around here. And that is that Convert to Raid has a new little feature as you go to the homepage. And that is you can buy merchandise. There's something coming up. Because BlizzCon is coming up. We want to get you guys geared up for BlizzCon. And
Buy our junk.
Yeah, buy our junk. Now, because this year we are actually holding our first ever, what we're calling the Smash Bash, which is Signals Media All-Star Heroes, SMASH. And it's an event, so we're calling it the Smash Bash. And last year it was just Convert to Raid and the Convert to Raid Guild, and the Converted was there to put on a great event, and it was awesome, and it was really, really warm. It was really warm.
Yeah, it was. If you like hot, uncomfortable, smelly parties,
right,
that was the party to go to.
But we did have a lot of fun. I mean, Treckie, you were there too.
Yeah.
You had a good time, right?
It was great.
You had to get out of there though after about 5 minutes of being in that heat. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You're not used to it being in Sweden and all. You're not used to that kind of.
No. The heat.
So we are going to be making this event bigger and better and all that kind of stuff, and we're trying to put it all together for you. And so we're using this shirt drive as also a fundraiser for the putting on the show. And you can either go and get gear, or you can donate to the cause. All the funds are going to be going directly to the Smash Bash, and you'll be able to see people from all the different Signals Media shows, like Convert to Raid and the Converted, and Torrent Think Tank, and the Starting Zone, and My Epic Heals, and more, probably. I don't know who else coming. Everybody's coming. But then there's also going to be people from all around the guild as well. Some of those great personalities. Oh, yeah, the guys from the Converted. Sorry, I didn't mention them as a podcast, but they are. And they're great. And so I think Sal and Belschnickel are going to be there from the Converted, as well as like all the guildies that they have on the show all the time. I know like there's a bunch of talk around the CTR guild about this event. Like, people will not miss this event. So come on down. We've got a bigger space, higher ceilings, so hopefully we won't have those kind of heat problems again, right?
Yeah.
But it should be a good time. So if you wanna donate to the cause, or if you want to grab a shirt, feel free to do that. Go to converttoraid.com. Check it out, and we even have a shirt that goes where part of it goes to charity. So that's cool too. Also, I want to take a second to thank Ian Hazakostas and Brian Halinka for last week. That was really cool to have those guys on the show. We had a good time with those guys, and I know that Ian was also on Wowhead doing an interview with Corey Stockton and Olivia Grace and Perculia and stuff like that from Wowhead. Another great a lot of great info, especially about garrisons. So, because I know that's kind of Corey's baby, where he's talking about garrisons all the time. So, but really good stuff there. So, thank you, Ian. Thank you, Brian. And it was great to talk with you guys, and great to see you again on the Wowhead interviews as well. So, anything else before we take off into the news? All right. Well, then let's do it.
Calling all raiders from around World of Warcraft land. This is Raiding News.
All right, it's time to check out what's happening with raiding news around World of Warcraft, and the only thing on our agenda really is 6.0. Everything 6.0. We do have one more thing, though, to talk about.
Uh-oh.
And that's with you specifically, Trekkie.
Mm-hmm.
And that is BlizzCon.
Yes.
So we found out this week that you are going to be reprising your role as one of the raiders in the raid extravaganza on Saturday morning, I think is when it is, during the raiding panel. And Method is going to be taking on Midwinter.
Yes.
So,
here again.
And you're going to be doing Warlord stuff. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I mean, what would be the alternative? Siege of Orgrimmar again?
Yeah, really. But have you had enough time in the beta to really kind of go through these bosses?
We've had a little time. It's been a bit weird. We haven't really known the whole scope of what we're gonna have to do, what we're gonna what we're gonna have to prepare for. So it's been a little bit weird. But what they've said specifically to us before is that it is not a race, but they kind of putting us one and next to each other doing the same thing. So
it's not a race, but it's totally a race.
Yeah, that's kind of what they're telling us.
Right.
I like this method better. Not your method.
Well, he doesn't. He likes your method. Don't get him.
I like this way of doing it better than going through Siege of Orgrimmar or anything like that, or even just picking 4 bosses and here's no trash and all that other stuff. I like this. Now you have to figure out what you're going to do, and you're going to have to deal with trash and stuff like that, and you haven't had months and months to practice on. I think it's going to be more exciting. I think you're going to find something crazy is going to happen that's going to mean the difference between the win and the loss.
Oh yeah, for sure. I see Chawangar doing the live raid. We really only had killed Garrosh 4 times though before we kill it on the stage. But here we haven't killed these bosses many times either at all, and especially not in the appropriate difficulty because we're doing it on heroic, which is what we used to know as normal mode. So it's not going to be mythic or anything, but
right.
Yeah,
because that would give us a pretty big lead compared to the other guilds who have not practiced it more than those few hours that it's been available.
Right.
So yeah, it's gonna be a little bit weird, and unexpected things can and will most likely happen. So we'll see how it ends up.
Right. Well, and it is an exhibition. It's not a competition. However, I'm sure
there's going to be a winner.
However, there will be a winner, and I'm sure people will be betting. And if if last year was any indication, I think that you would be the safer bet because Midwinter tried some things last year, and they went a little crazy, and they had to do Shaman 3 times. That was upsetting, but it was cool when they finally downed them, and they almost caught up to you.
Yeah, they did.
Oh.
We went for the safer strats, and let's just say that there is another boss which has 2 bosses, which involves running around the room. So we'll see how that goes.
Right. So you've kind of got your strats together then.
Yeah.
And you kind of know. So are you going to try the same tactics as last year? Because last year you also kept the Midwinter guys up until 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, that's happening again. It might not work out, but again, I go with that again. Yes.
Yeah. It's sabotage from inside. Oh man, they actually invited you in, and I'm sure that they're going. And you're actually going to be leaving for BlizzCon soon, right?
I'm going to Cali next Thursday. Yep.
Wow. So do you guys have a house or what? I know that there's...
No, I'm going by myself, hanging out with a few friends I know over in Irvine. And then...
Wait. I'm going to go hang out with a few friends over in Irvine. Wink, wink. Well.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but Midwinter's GM started working for Blizzard, so...
Yeah.
Yep. He's not going to be raiding with him anymore, but I'm going to be hanging out with him quite a lot at least. So I'm spending 3 weeks over there, and then the last week during the BlizzCon week, basically we have a method house, and Midwinter has 2 houses.
They have 2 houses? That's crazy.
17 people. So they have one party house and one calm house. So if people go home early, they can just go there and then. The house is going to be filled.
That's so funny. They have a party house, and then they'll have a regular house where they can actually sleep.
Yeah.
Great. I bet the people that lease that party house are real happy right now.
Yeah. Oh man. That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, good luck as you go into this rating panel. I think it'll be a lot of fun to watch you guys, and it's gonna be 4 bosses, all the trash, everything. There are a couple of optional bosses that you guys will not do, probably.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very worth it to do the optional bosses in a race.
Right.
The loot, though, you got to get the loot
to win the not a competition.
Yeah.
You got to get the loot.
Got to get the loot.
Right.
It's all about the loot, as Mr. Train would say.
Right. It is. And let's talk a little bit about 6.0 now. 6.0 hit on Tuesday, not on Thursday like people predicted. and what do you guys think about 6.0 so far? Darius, let's start with you. What have you thought about this new expansion?
It's definitely a pre-patch.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
Because stuff's different.
Wow, you're good with words.
I am the most thing I am happy about, and I've talked about this so many times on the show, is I have bag space again.
Oh yeah.
Oh yes, that is the best.
Yes,
that is the best.
And the second tab of void storage and the regent bank. Like I have so much bag space now. I've already filled the second tab of the void storage already. So I've got all of that back. I've got the toy box. I've got almost 100 and something toys in there, I think. Then all the regents are now in their own tab. I don't know what to do. There's so much room for activities. I don't know what to do.
Anything else really stick out to you other than bag space?
I mean, it's all the stuff that we saw in the beta. All the quality of life changes, the quest givers highlighting and the way the models look and stuff like that. One of the things I really like is how they've done with it's a small thing, but it's big. How even if there's a pile of people on top of a quest giver, you can still click that quest giver through the bodies.
Right.
That's that, especially on launch day down in Blasted Lands. Everybody with their giant mounts sitting on top of quest givers.
Right.
Able to click on those. There's quality of life stuff. The pre-event quests I thought were kind of they're kind of boring. I'll just say that.
Sure.
And Ubers was that. I mean, that was fun the first time, but it was really short. I was expecting something a little bit harder. But I'm kind of thinking of their, how they talked about heroics are going to be hard again and all this stuff. But I understand it's just a normal. But overall, I'm liking it. I mean, change is good, especially since we've been sitting on this for 2 years.
Right.
Changes.
Well, and we are at. I mean, we're 10 levels below where we're going to be for Warlords. So I think that some of the issues with balance and stuff like that will work itself out. And they've been hot fixing some of that stuff as well. And I think that with Ubers, you want to make sure that you have people of all gear levels that are able to clear this thing. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I went in with groups that were geared to the teeth. So I've heard of groups that are, at the proper eye level for it, and they're having a little bit more difficulty. But
right. Trekkie, did you try any of the Ubers or the questing or anything like that?
I went UBRS a few times and just breezed through it. But like you're saying, you had a lot more item level than you're supposed to have, so it really wasn't a problem.
Right.
As for the questing thing, I didn't really have time to do the Blasted Land thing because I was busy killing frogs.
You didn't have the 7 minutes it takes to do it.
Yeah, it really doesn't take very long to do this thing. So what you do is you go down to the Blasted Lands. You can port right there, right? That's because you have to go to the dark portal, and then that will just port you to your little hub there, and then you go through the quests. And seriously, I was, as I said before the show, I was doing Boomkin on that, and I would dot them up and try to throw off a wrath, and sometimes I would hit them before they died. Sometimes it was
that Blasted Land things is scaled for really low item level as well, I'm sure. So
yeah. It's probably about 100 eye levels below.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like starter gear, so it'd be like the 60 boost. Yeah, it'd be like the boosty gear or something like that, or even less. Who knows? I don't know what they did, but it's really low. That's all I know. And yeah, that was 5 minutes of playtime essentially that I had this week. So I did that. That was good. What are you guys thinking about your classes? And I think Trekkie, let's just talk about tanking in general. Are you noticing any huge deals with tanking right now? Any classes that really stick out?
It's kind of hard to see right now because everyone is like so overgeared that it's hard really noticing. If you go into Mythic right now, for example, no tanks hit damage.
Yeah,
it's like they change it up so the tanks, people will need to heal the tanks. That's not happening because we're so overgeared, really.
Right.
That's not really going to be a thing in level 100, so it's to be expected. But I don't know. I like some of the classes. Some of the classes got have 3 spells. Bear druids, for example, they have like 3 spells now.
Oh, really?
So their rotation got kind of boring. Yeah.
What is? I mean, since there are only 3, let's talk about them. So what do you have? What do you have as a bear tank?
You got Mangle, Thrash, and the Lacerate. It's like
and that's it.
And that's it. I mean, you have like Maul still, which is your active mitigation kind of.
And you have like Swipe just in case of.
Nope.
No swipe.
No,
it was built into Thrash.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Fair Fire is still a thing, but it doesn't apply the armor debuff anymore. So it's just like damage on range, but you don't use it really.
Okay.
So it's like it's not like it's hard or was hard before, but it's like if there's more than one target, Thrash. That's it.
Right.
So
any other classes, any other tanking classes really sticking out for you as far as big changes for them or anything?
DK's got a little bit more change as well because their runic power generation got lowered. So basically, they stand around waiting on global cooldowns for a few seconds every now and then.
I think we talked about that on this show that there was going to be some downtime for DKs, and so maybe pick up knitting or something like that. Who knows? Can do something between swings. I don't know. Darius, how about you? What have you noticed this week? How's your Shadow Priest doing?
Shadow Priest, there weren't a whole lot of changes, at least at level 90 for Shadow Priest. I didn't log in and find that I'm missing half of my bars or anything like that. Mm-hmm. There's a few things here and there that are missing, but for the most part, they play really similar at 90. At 100, when you get a few of the 100 talents, things will be a little different. But I'm still liking it. I'm really enjoying the fact that no hunters get to raid anymore. I think that's a welcome change.
I'm really enjoying that dancing bear behind you. People have found you.
A little crazy.
It's totally messing up your video too. But that's good. That's good. So, any other classes that you're noticing that you've played this week that have really taken a hit or anything like that? I know we're getting lots of comments throughout the community, especially this week, especially from hunters.
I like.
So yeah, I don't know. I know that. Go ahead.
I did play my Pally. That felt really similar as well. Again, a few things missing, but nothing crazy. Not like when I logged into my Druid, like Treckie said, and most of my buttons were gone, and I didn't know what to do.
Right. Well, I was playing Resto, and Resto seems pretty much the same. I mean, dropped a couple of things, but and basically switched my on my bars. Well, for all my hotkeys and stuff like that. Basically, I just switched where regrowth and healing touch were placed. That was it. 'Cause I'm like, that's the only real change. Okay, let's go. So. And I'm liking it. So all Resto druids are really liking their position right now. It seems
in general, like your main spec wasn't too your main spec abilities. It wasn't too changed. It was mainly those like off heals or whatever for DPSers or like your off roll abilities. Those were just removed or just completely changed.
Yeah. That was actually what the biggest thing I think that a lot of people noticed. And I know that as of October 17th, so it was, a couple days ago, so Friday, I know that feral druids, hunters, monks, pallies, those guys have gotten buffs of pretty substantial ones, too. And then, like, fury warriors, demonology locks, and mages have seen a little bit of an adjustment. That's what they call it. They're little too OP, as they say. So especially like fire mages were doing really, really good damage, and demonology locks were amazing. And I think Torage was talking about Fury Warriors the other night. He was saying, "Oh yeah, it's really great. All I have to do is just hit one button and I get all the numbers."
Yeah.
So that sounds awesome. I don't know.
I mean, they just brought Fury Warriors in line with the caliber of people that play Fury Warriors.
Wow.
So
wow. Wow. Expect email this week. All right. Check.
expect them all to come from Torage too.
That's right. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about was for those guys that don't know what's going on with their particular class and spec that they play, or they want to learn a new one, especially with boosted characters or something like that. There are a couple places to go right now, and I think that they're really cool. First is going to be Wowhead. Wowhead came up with these really good gearing guides for 6.0. They also have class guides for the transition stuff, as well as like stats and what you're looking for. And then the guys over at Icy Veins did a little bit more in depth on class stuff and spec stuff, and they actually have a thing called a transition guide, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So if you're used to playing your spec of choice, well, here are the changes. Here's what you can't do anymore, and here's what you need to do to kind of be better at this thing. I don't know.
They went in line with all their other guides, and they got peer reviewed or peer written transition guides on Icy Veins, and they're a pretty good place to start if you're not sure what's going on. It's pretty concise too. Most of them are maybe 5 to 10 bullet points and a short blurb on everything you need to know. So if you don't have a whole lot of time,
right,
check them out.
Well, and the nice thing too is that they break it out by class, not by spec, and then they also have, like, within that post you can look at it by spec, so then you can see what the changes are. Because the Druid one is huge. The Druid post is very, very long. It's incredible, and it's mostly about balance, I think, and feral. Those are the two that have changed the most. So it's interesting times for Druids and other people. So hopefully, I'm guessing I haven't really kept an eye on the chat room about the numbers recently since the changes went into place on Friday.
I actually think that some of those changes require like a server restart, so they're not
almost all of them.
all working properly. But
Gotcha. So we're still going to be waiting on some of this stuff, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe. All right.
But it's kind of weird that they're doing these, like, because we're like we were saying before, we're supposed to be balanced for level 100 scenario, but we're level 90.
Right.
So they're gonna like buff and nerf some classes right now, and then when we get to 100, it's like, oh, we nerfed these classes, and now they're doing very badly, so we're gonna buff them again.
Well, I mean, that's the way it's always been, though, right? I mean, it's always been kind of that way, where you let something out of the bag, and then you go, okay, now that we have this on live, and we have a better idea of how everybody is using this stuff, now we can go back in and say, okay, let's make adjustments for right now. And we'll still try to keep that balance for 100, but when we hit 100, we know that we're going to do a rebalance anyway because we're going to find new things by then.
Yeah,
so
it just doesn't work for the community to be like, to say like, hey, well, in 4 weeks it's gonna be all fine. You're gonna not have to worry, because people are gonna worry for those 4 weeks and gonna like thinking your class is so bad is just really horrible, and then you're probably gonna try to re-roll or whatever, and they don't want that to happen. So they're doing some last minute like balancing, and then they might have to do that later on at level 100 again. But.
Yeah, well, and you know, I mean, like the biggest gripes that I saw on the forums, on the WoW forums and stuff
gripes?
like that.
Is that what we're going to call them? Just gripes?
I'm going to say gripes. I'm going to say that they were trying to be constructive. Actually, they weren't very constructive at all. It was questions like, how are you going to fix blank? Whatever the class is, how are you going to fix blank? That's the question that they're asking the developers. And that, to me, is not a very good question to ask them, only because it kind of shuts the conversation down.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of like F you. How about that? How about we just do that? So it's like all these guys are like posting these questions about how their class is broken, and it's like, well, I mean, this is a pre-expansion patch.
Yeah, this is how it's going to be.
We're 10 levels below where they want balance to occur. So
this happens every time an expansion comes out.
Yeah.
Every It's just how it's going to be for 4 weeks. I wouldn't worry too much about it, because if they start trying to fix things now for 90, they're just going to have to try to unfix them or fix them in a different way when 100 comes around.
And there's been times when it's been much worse, when it's like you don't have access to like your main ability, your main rotation you're gonna have at the higher level cap.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know any such case at level 100, but there's been cases like that in the past. So basically, you're like balanced for a spec which have a resource which you don't have, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And I see this in the chat from Collected One. It says the BlizzCon Q&As are going to be fun. No. No,
Right.
I don't think they are.
It just need a big sign that says like no level 90 questions.
Well, just no class questions. I mean, because all that stuff is so fluid and usually pretty easily fixed. I mean, other than the ability bloat thing that they were trying to get rid of, right? So they got rid of some spells. Okay, well, let's figure it out. Let's figure out. I mean, during the beta, I think they were trying to figure out how each class would be playing, kind of where it was comfortable and fun, and not necessarily saying that they accomplish that goal with every single spec, but I mean that's what they were trying to do. And now it's more about numbers and trying to make sure that we're kind of getting in that range. And I don't know. So
I feel like we might have in the past had a sounder or something for this kind of thing. I don't know if you remember it.
Was it something along the lines of calm the F down?
Yeah.
Was that it? Because I don't have that one right now.
Come on.
I don't have that one right now. Maybe I'll try to look for it as we kind of talk about this next little thing here. Okay? Because there's a bunch of calm the F down right now about everything, including there was a problem with an add-on this week.
Oh yeah.
And Darius, inform us, what was going on this week with an add-on?
There's a slight problem with an add-on that nobody really uses.
Nobody uses it.
Yeah. It was there was an issue. Well, there's been an issue with ElvUI for a long time. It was found out this past week, and there was code written into ElvUI by Elv that allowed him to, if he was logged into any one of his 3 specific characters on his server and was either in a group with you or in the same chat channel as you, he could send a command. He could basically use ElvUI as a backdoor to send any command he wanted to your WoW instance.
What?
Yeah. So this was written into the code, and he claims it was for debug testing, that he used it with his raid team to debug things when patches came out or things changed. He would use this to fix problems. Now it's been in there for years, multiple years. But as soon as the other developers found out about it, they took it out and they pushed an update. So if you've updated Elv since maybe Wednesday or Thursday, this is no longer in there.
Right.
But yeah, it was allowed him to execute any command he wanted. He could make you say something. He could make you quit the game. Now the code wasn't obfuscated, so you could clearly see it in there. And anything he typed, you would see the output in chat. So it wasn't like he was trying to hide it. It's obviously not a very good thing to put into your code as a developer, no matter what you're developing.
Right.
But he wasn't trying to be secretive about it or anything like that.
As far as we know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he was. But
Well, it's kind of putting the name of his characters in the code. So if he would be find out, it's not like he can hide it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and it was hard coded to only work with those 3 characters. And they had to be on Shattered Hand or whatever server he was on. So it was very, very specific. It wasn't like someone else could come in and do that. But it's not a cool thing to do. But like I said, if you've updated ElvUI in the last 4 or 5 days, they've taken it out. So you should be okay. And they're pushing updates all the time anyway to fix problems for 6.0.
Well, it seems like that's the big thing right now anyway with everybody, is that they're all pushing updates like every other day anyway. Yeah. And that's game developers, add-on developers, everything. So before you even log into WoW, always make sure to check your curse client or whatever and just make sure that those add-ons are completely updated, because you don't know what's broke this time around.
Everything's broken.
Everything is broken. And, okay, I have it now. So let's play this now. Because we all need to take a little bit of a break here.
Hi, I'm Coltrane.
And I'm Pat Krane.
And we are here today to talk to you about a very recent issue.
It's an issue that affects most of us, especially orcs.
It's a condition called IFOWISNAWOD. I freak out when I see news about Warlords of Draenor.
That's right, Colt. And it affects 1 in 5 Azerothians.
That's a pretty scary statistic, Pat. Almost as scary as that time I thought Blizzard was going to make garrisons into a daily hub like that of the Golden Lotus.
That's right. You really freaked out there. Like, really freaked out.
I wet 'ems, Pat, and I have the stain to prove it.
No, I mean, I was really concerned for you.
It smells.
My bet. Oh yeah, sorry.
We at the Let's Not Freak Out About News on the Warlords of Draenor Society are looking to help you.
Bring us your tired, your poor, your night elves upset they didn't show their updated character models at BlizzCon.
We can provide the support and care you need to move on from the initial shock from the removal of reforging and get on with your life.
This is Timmy. He was a troll concerned with not being able to learn Flight on Draenor until patch 6.1, and, well, let's let him tell the story.
I was first upset when I read the forum posts about flight restrictions in Warlords of Draenor. Now, thanks to the LNFOANOTWODS, I no longer want to push my berserking button and poop everywhere.
Thank you, Timmy.
And thank you for not pooping.
If you have a loved one who may be suffering or find yourself with these symptoms, please call us.
Call 1-800-CALM-THE-F-DOWN. Operators are standing by.
Call today. I'm not just a founder, but a member as well.
Right. Just like when you read Blizzard was removing intellect on leather items.
Oh, Coltrane. You just had to bring this up now, didn't you?
Call 1-800-CALM-THE-F-DOWN for your free brochure. That's 1-800-CALM-THE-F-DOWN.
Burn with fire and poop everywhere!
Yep. Just do it. And there was somebody in chat that said that we play this every time. We haven't played this in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, we haven't played this in a long time. It's
been
probably the best sounder ever.
We'll have to make one up for 6.0. 6.0 Tober. And then for Watvember. Is it Watvember? Is that what it is? I think that's what it's
I think you just made that up, and that's horrible.
I think so too. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about Siege of Orgrimmar. Trekkie, on a scale of 1 to really super easy, how is Siege of Orgrimmar these days?
I don't know quite where LFR ranks on that scale, but I would say slightly less than LFR.
Wow. And this is you're talking about for Mythic?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much.
Wow. That is so.
It sounds like exactly where it should be. Right under LFR.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of people who are like up in arms about it and all that kind of stuff, but like we've had Siege of Orgrimmar for over a year. I think now going into 6.0, we can classify this as past content. This is old content.
So
I don't mind it being nerfed.
So we're calling it farm content, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's just like about as easy as the farm back on Miss Pandaria. Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Indeed.
So
no, it's really easy. We saw like when on patch day, it was a lot harder than it is right now. We saw like another nerf in Mythic by like another 35% or something. I don't know what the number was, but even more so than it was already easy before, and now it's a lot easier. So we're seeing some like 35-second kills on some bosses, just straight up just nuking it with 1 tank and 19 healers, 19 DPS, and just that's it.
Wow.
Sounds like when I'm trying to solo old content, 30-second kill. That's crazy.
And some people are complaining about soloing the old raids, the legacy raids as they call them, because the squish was kind of in a weird spot, and some what was going on, Dairies, with that stuff? Do you know?
Well, there were just some abilities that hadn't been pruned yet. That hadn't been squished. So there were bosses or trash doing pre-squish amounts, so they would hit you for 200 or 300k, which wasn't a lot when you had 1 million health, but when you have 90k health, that's a whole lot. So people are getting one shot by real simple mechanics.
Right. I heard about people wiping on like Lich King with, after 5 minutes he only had 50% health and all this other kind of stuff. So not necessarily all of the numbers made sense in some of those older raids, but hopefully, I think they said that now it should be fine.
They've added some new raid bosses to the game in this. They're actually in the Blood Elf starting zone. They're called Mana Worms.
We're getting into all sorts of stuff now.
These now require a group of 10 raiders to take down.
The Mana Worms? Really?
Yeah, they one-shot you.
Yeah, they were one-shotting people. You have, at level 1, you're supposed to go kill 10 of these things. You have maybe 150 health, and they're hitting people for 300 or 400 health just as a white attack. So they're one-shotting everybody.
Right. It sounds like the stat squish went the other way on that one.
Yeah, there's been a few reported cases of mobs is not doing the appropriate amount of damage for where you're leveling right now. So I think if you get a level right now, you might have a bad time.
Or you might be coughing up $60. That might be your thing instead.
That's their plan.
That's the plan.
Yeah. Just
I have heard
that's how they're gonna milk the money out of everybody.
Yeah. I have heard though that leveling dungeons now, like dungeons as you're leveling, are actually a lot of fun because they're more challenging. You can't just run in and pull the entire dungeon at once and then leave, which some people enjoy, but the challenge is also enjoyable. So, it takes healers healing and tanks not playing like, tanks.
Not playing like hunters.
Playing everything. No. Yeah, like hunters. Yeah.
Let's throw them under the bus some more this show. I think that'd be good. So leveling is challenging, but as soon as you get up to Mythic, Siege of Orgrimmar, that's not...
Yeah, it's kind of swapped. Where it used to be easy to level and hard to raid, it's now hard to level and easy to raid.
Right. Yep. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun then. Make sure to grab your alts right now and go level.
I do want to put a disclaimer, that's not how Mythic is going to be in Warlords.
That's not what I heard. I heard Mythic is lower than LFR. LFR is the hardest difficulty.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about raiding for Warlords, because I'm sure that you guys are gearing up. I mean, obviously you've been in the beta. You know your boss strats for the raid event. But I mean, how has the Mythic team, the 20-man team, changed method? Have you guys been making cuts or what with the team?
It's been pretty much doing it by itself, to be honest. Like we've had a year to prepare to cutting down the roster, and really we haven't really done much cutting. It's been a few people who've been like, well, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna focus on IRL or whatever. So we've lost a few players, we've gained a few players, and everyone who we've gained have obviously realized that we are going to be going in the next expansion for 20 people. So you're either expected to be on the bench or expected to be like backup or whatever.
Right.
So it's a lot of competition for the spots, of course, which is a good thing because it means that you can like min-max a little, you can like optimize a little bit better, and having more classes is very important because when you cut down the size of the raid, every single individual does more of an impact if you're the right class or the wrong class as well.
Right.
That's something we saw all the time with 10 versus 25 man debates. It's like if you have the good classes in 10 man, you like breeze through it. If you have the bad classes in 10 man, it's horrible.
Now, obviously there are going to be fights where one class or one like ranged are going to be really good at a particular boss, but have you seen in the beta that there has been any need to really class stack on a regular basis?
Not too much, but there's a few like AoE encounters or like where you can hit more than one target and just bring monks for a She explosion. They do so much damage.
Oh, nice.
It's a very big discrepancy there, at least there. Otherwise, it seems relatively fine. Like you can't have too many melee, you can't have too many ranged either. So no, it looks pretty well, but it's gonna be hard because we haven't done like 50 pulls on every single mythic boss either, with like trying different strats either. So
Right. Gotcha.
But, yeah.
Go ahead.
The encounters just look really well. Like in terms of how they work out, they look very interesting at least. So I think it's looking like a lot of fun to be progressing those.
Cool. So you're going to be, in those dungeons, in those raids for about a week, and then you'll be done. And then,
Probably.
and then you'll be like, oh yeah, that was fun. That 1 week where we were there for like 20 hours, that was really great.
Well, they're releasing Heimal the 9th. Heimal Mythic is the 9th December.
Right.
And then Blackrock Foundry, I don't think we have a release date, but it's not until after New Year's. So
yeah, I would think not. I would hope not. I would hope that they're not going to try to, get you guys to raid on Christmas Day or whatever.
That's
like
when
they
it's
have
released.
They've done that before though, right? Where like raids have carried over into Christmas and stuff like that, hasn't it?
Yeah. Dragon Soul came out right before Christmas. I remember that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was that came out maybe it came out early December. No, I thought it was around Christmas is when Dragon Soul came out.
Right.
I don't remember now.
Cool. So now Treckie, are you there? Or did I lost Treckie? Of course, as soon as I ask him a question,
yes,
he's gone. That's the way it goes. He's like, I'm out, people.
Yep, that's it. He's got to go raid
good anymore. So, Darius, hi, how are you?
Let's is shaping up.
Yeah, let's talk about our raid team because I'm sure that people are kind of curious about this. Now, our raid team, Asparagus Initiative, we are at about 37 people.
Yeah, we have a giant roster that needs to be 20. So we decided, like Method, to not cut anybody. We picked a roster of 20, and we've got a whole bunch of people on the bench that we're going to be swapping in and out or fending for raid spots or whatnot. And it works out because of the ability for normal and or what is now or what is going to be normal in the future. That's now called heroic or whatever it is. I can't remember. You can now do it as many times as you want. You just won't get loot, a lot like LFR. But we've got our entire roster is made up of hunters. So we're just going to go in with 20 hunters. Happens.
Right. I'm actually kind of looking forward to this. And by the way, welcome back, Trekkie.
Thank you.
And I'm kind of looking forward to this because so last week was the final. I mean, we had just killed heroic Gary the week before last, so 2 weeks ago. And then last week we were going to go through and get my kill along with everybody else who hadn't been in the raid for progression. We were going to try to get everybody their kill, and we ended up going all the way to phase 4 like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
but we were just short on DPS by about 10%, and it was like, well, we could keep doing this, but it's 10%. 10% is still kind of a lot. So
yeah, we brought an extra healer in, I think, because we were carrying you. So
yes,
we ended up being short on DPS.
That is true. So, yeah. And now I'll be carrying everybody else. I've got big shoulders. It's fine. A resto druid, we've got room. We've got room. We've got hots all day, baby. No, but so I'm kind of looking forward to the changes with the Siege of Orgrimmar, and kind of looking forward to getting my kill, even though I know that it will not be. I mean, it's kind of like when Firelands got nerfed. Remember, because it was like 15 to 25% per boss. It's kind of like the day after that happened, and I went in with my raid team, and I'm like, all right, let's clear the next 3 bosses. It's kind of like, burr, burr. But that's okay. I don't mind that. From time. It's still loot. I get loot. Off of Gary. Probably. Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. I know what I was going to ask you, Trek. So, with Method this time around, how are you guys looking at hybrid classes? Are you guys looking at those guys as being the guys that are going to have to know pretty much every single spec?
No, really
No?
no. Because well, it's kind of hard to be. It's not too hard to be like specialized with multiple roles, really, but it's more like it makes a lot of sense because you already have the gear. Because all your intellect gear goes over to agility gear if you're like going between Moonkin and Feral.
Right.
But not everyone knows or like is interested in playing it, and then if it's like two. Moonkins and Feral play very differently, and if you're very used to playing a melee class, for example, you might not do that well with Moonkin or have very much fun with it either. So you might just opt for having another alt,
Right.
instead. So it's not like it's a strict requirement, but at the same time, it obviously helps if you can play multiple specs of your main class.
Right. Well, and I would just think that, I mean, from a farming perspective too, that makes it a hell of a lot easier for raid teams in general to be able to farm that stuff. I mean, sure, you'd still need like off-spec like rings or, whatever, like those things that will give your secondary stats. But for those things that are going to be giving your primary stats, I mean, it'll be easier to get more power for whatever spec you have, right? So I would think that the hybrids want to do stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it helps if you can, but like I said, it's more going to be an alt, being able to optimize on alts, I think. That's what we're focusing on, at least.
Speaking of alts, so what are you leveling up first, and then what is your next one going to be? Do you have kind of your order of what tanking classes you are really looking at this time around for you?
Yeah, we're gonna have 2.5 weeks to level before normal and heroic comes out. So we're gonna have time to level our classes and get them even ready from dungeons and stuff.
Right.
My main is still gonna be my paladin, so I'm gonna be leveling that one up first. My second one is gonna be the DK because they're doing very well in low damage output situations, which is 5-mans and normal modes and heroics, or raiding normals and raiding heroics, because the damage output isn't too big, which would probably help with the normal and heroic clears we will have to gear up our mains.
Okay.
As for Mythic, they don't really seem to their active mitigation is just really weird.
Oh, gotcha.
And I might be leveling a monk as my third one because they have very good utility with kiting and stuff as well. So that might be my third choice. Otherwise, I might go for warriors, even though we have 2 tanking warriors already, because they're just really, really strong.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Prot Warrior, so that's excellent. Darius, how about you? What are you going to be leveling up first, and what's going to be your alt?
I'm going to level up my priest first because that's.
How can you tank on your priest?
Yeah, that's a problem. I'm no longer tanking for the Asparagus Initiative, I guess. Ugh.
Right.
We now have a new tank. He's going to be taking my spot, and I'm going to be going back to my priest. So I'm not going to be tanking anymore. So I'm going to level my priest up first, and then I'll probably level my druid as a backup tank in case we need it for whatever reason. I might also level up either a warlock or a shaman as DPS. Shaman are kind of boring right now, at least on the beta. They were real boring as Ellie shaman. So.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, they weren't as fantastic as they are now because you can't do the lightning on the run anymore. But you could still have fun with it. I mean,
their rotation is real simple. It's almost arcane mage simple.
Well, I mean, it was always kind of. I mean, it wasn't arcane mage cataclysm stuff where it's really only maybe 2 main buttons. It's not like that. No,
pretty close to that.
It's kind of close to that. I think it's 3 or 4 now.
I think it's 3 buttons.
I think it's mainly 3 with a 4th that's kind of maybe.
It's essentially does the button light up? If so, push it. If not, push the one that's lit up.
Right, right. Or you just get an add-on like Spell Flash and it'll tell you anyway.
It's pretty simple, but we don't have one on the raid team, at least a permanent one. So
right.
about.
Well, but the problem is that as we were talking with the team last week, because we have no shamans in the raid team already, or because we have we have 2, right now, right?
Resto Shaman and Enhancement Shaman. We just have
Right.
no Ellie Shaman.
Right. So we have no Ellie. And so, like, my second one is going to be, because the Druid is first, and then my second one is going to be Ellie Shaman. We have like 17 Ellie Shamans as alts for our team now.
We're gonna be all set.
It's ridiculous. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to go through all this stuff now and kind of get a feel for these different classes and for these different specs and to go in there and, you know, hit a target dummy and just kind of check it out and see what's going on. And it gives you a lot of thoughts about what's coming up for Warlords. So that part is fun. I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I think that... Was there anything else about 6.0 that you guys wanted to bring up at all as far as what you're doing or what you've seen with 6.0?
There was one thing that I forgot to mention when I was talking about tanks and what changed, and the really big one was the Vengeance change. They removed Vengeance. And I am so happy they removed that, because it actually makes me feel useful in non-raiding situations as a tank.
What do you mean?
Because because it basically buffed all the tanks DPS to do about half or 75% of DPSers, and then they remove Vengeance. So it's not like you can game Vengeance and be doing more damage than everyone else. But before, you were doing like a tenth of the damage dealer's damage, and you had to game Vengeance, and if you did it good, then you would do more DPS than the DPSers.
Right. And
so now you're actually just useful.
Well, and you'd see that especially on fights like Heroic Garrosh, right? Where you'd see tanks stealing aggro so that they could get the boost and do a lot more damage and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. I'm kind of glad that it's gone too, because really tanks should be about keeping the focus off of everybody else that's killing the boss, and you know, like mitigating damage. I think that
the idea behind it. The idea behind it was basically that you were rewarded if you were able to survive a lot of damage by doing more damage, but it basically just ended up to like just take as much damage as possible so that you could do as much damage as possible. That's not really a tanking. That's not how you want your tank to be thinking, so...
Right. You don't want your tank to be DPS, right?
Well, you don't want your tank to be trying to take as much damage as possible and trying to survive it.
Yes, and as a healer, I would agree. I would agree on that one.
Yeah, it's fine.
All right, well, let's get into... we've got a couple of listener questions here, so let's get into that.
We've got mail.
We do. And if you have a question about anything for us about raiding or anything else, just let us know. We'll try to answer it on the show. You can email us at converttoraid@gmail.com, or you can call our raid line, 612-787-RAID, or join us during the live show like these fine people in the chat room here. Try to flag us down, and we'll see if we can get to it. Now, first up, we actually have a fairly long letter from Morn of Chandris US, and basically it's talking about the new... feature that has come with 6.0.2 and boosted accounts. And it's basically talking about the leveling up experience that you get when you have a boosted character. What ends up happening is here, I'll pick it up in the middle of the letter. It started out so great. You zone in Anir Murad, the badass Vindicator in Blasted Lands, and I had about 8 abilities to start off with. All of which were the core of the Shadow Priest's basic rotation. As I progressed through the quests, each set of quests unlocked one new set of abilities, and they were appropriately segmented such that I got 3 to 4 new abilities of what they labeled sustainable combat, control, cooldowns, talents tier 1, and other such things. However, it is not all drip-fed to you. Because at the end of the quest line, whatever had not been drip-fed to you was simply thrown at you all at once, without any chat list of new abilities. Without any chat list of new abilities, I've learned to help me figure out what's old and what's new in my spell book. Fortunately, it wasn't terribly much because, with the ability bloat being, down a little bit more, but there was enough. But there was enough just dropped on me that it kind of threw me for a loop. And I've been playing since Wrath, so I'm worried that will feel worried what it will feel like for truly new players. So if you're a new player, watch out. This may not be the best option for you, as it sounds like, unless of course you have a friend, right? So I don't know. Do you guys go ahead?
You're still being fed abilities over the quest line, and then you're given a bunch at the end. So it's either do you get fed a bunch that teach you the basic rotation of priest over these quests, or you just get everything dumped on you. And that the writer is complaining about having things being dumped on him, but it's not everything. There's a significant amount.
Well, and I don't think he was even necessarily complaining. He was just kind of noticing that it was okay. We have all these things kind of being laid out before me, and that's really cool. And then all of a sudden at the end, it was like, bah! It was just like
there's a lot of stuff you're going to get that you're going to use once ever raiding. You're going to use an entire raid tier. You're going to use, your silence as a priest once, if that. So you don't need. They don't need to give you a quest line on how to use those. That's it's not going to be necessary. And I mean that's just how it happens. You're going to have a spell book full of stuff. Everybody does. Yep. I think they've done a really good job introducing it to people and giving you, as the writer says, they give you about 8 abilities or so when you start off that are your basic rotation, and that's really what they need. Is just these are the spells you need to know about most. These are the ones that are going to get you at least most of the way there.
It's much better than when you're at level 1 and having to die to mana worms and you only have one ability to.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the alternative though. Yeah. Spending 50 hours leveling.
Yeah.
Or like trying to read up on what abilities you have. I think that the writer is trying to voice his concern about maybe they could implement make it a little bit more noob friendly with all the abilities or whatever. But
right.
I don't know. There's also I think when we're starting Warlords, isn't the Dark Portal event gonna be replacing this Blasted Land event when you do bring a level 90 boost character though? Because I think when you did that on the beta, at least you did unlock abilities for each quest you did, basically.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to remember how it all laid out on the beta, and I'm just coming up with a blank because I remember doing it, but I did so much other stuff on the beta. I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea.
So when you're doing and seeing the different warlords, you basically unlocked all your
right.
This quest unlocks defensive abilities. This quest unlocks situational abilities or whatever.
That's right. I remember that now. Yes. But it was fun, and it's all good, and I think that especially with the ability pruning, as they called it, I think that it's a lot easier for people to pick up a spec nowadays. So I don't know. Just go out and have fun, and try not to get too overwhelmed about stuff, especially with a new character like that. I don't know. Darius, you want to take the next letter, please?
This is from Alrin on Agrimar. It says, I just got my main up to the gear level where I want to start LFR. What can I do to train for raid tanking? I don't want to be a burden on the rest of the group when I go into LFR Flex. Also, where can I train for raid healing? Queue for DPS and swap specs for healing?
All right. So we're talking about where to train for stuff, and I don't know necessarily. Training for raid tanking is a little difficult. Right? I mean, because you have to kind of understand the mechanics of each of those fights. Treckie, what do you have to say for learning how to raid tank?
It depends a little bit on how new you are to it. I would say proving grounds still do exist, and I would say that's a good time you could, if you really don't want to bother anyone else, you can do proving grounds or 5-mans even. 5-mans you're bothering some people, but with Vengeance being gone, it's basically. It's a lot easier to start off tanking because you're gonna have a lot of threat and everything, and even if you face people who are really overgeared, you're gonna be able to tank most of it without people stealing threat from you. And that was really the biggest issue before, that people just dragging threat off of you and you were just standing there feeling useless.
Right. Go ahead.
But yeah, proving grounds does exist, and they're retuned I think for 6.0 as well. And other than that, it's not really much you can do, I think, because LFR is the easiest version, but
Sure. Well, and I think that you should go to a place like Icy Veins and read up on the mechanics and kind of read up on what your class and spec is, so that you kind of understand what you need to be worrying about on a regular fight on normal, and then try to make sure that you're doing something similar in LFR. It's going to be a little bit easier, of course, but I think understanding the mechanics and understanding what you need to do would be helpful. So, and I think there are places that do condensed versions of like LFR stuff as well, but I'm not sure. I can't remember where they are. I know Olivia Grace did some of that stuff. Maybe they're over at Wowhead. I don't know. Darius, any thoughts from you?
I agree with Trekkie. Proving grounds are a really good place to start, even if you just go in and get silver or bronze, whatever bronze, and just go in and just see how your class plays when you're taking damage. Just learn some basic survivability things. That's going to help you a lot in LFR. Even if you're just you're playing a Pro Warrior, if you're popping a cooldown. Just to survive in Proving Grounds, you now know how that cooldown works, and that sets you apart from most other tanks in LFR. So I'd say go in there and test that out, then maybe try 5-mans and read up on LFR. As far as raid healing, likely the same thing. But I mean, the best thing to do is if you've got friends that have tanked before or healed before or something like that, go in and do a 5-man and just ask questions, even if they've never played a Pro Warrior. Just go in with them, and it's a lot of the tanking stuff is universal.
Or just play with friends who understand that you're new to it, so they don't rage at you when you do like a 5-man.
Right. Right. Gotcha. That's a squeaky chair you have there, Darius.
I know.
I know. Happy about it. All right, let's go to the next letter from Rexigar, Storm Rage US. It says, my question pertains to the character levels. When we have finally reached level 100 with Warlords of Draenor, we all know that this will not be the last expansion in the World of Warcraft series. In future,
what?
Well, apparently.
What?
I don't know.
I was hoping this was the last one.
In future expansions, are we going to level 105 or 110? Maybe it's just my OCD talking, but it just feels odd, the thought of going to on to level 100, over level 100. Could they possibly implement a Paragon level system like they have in Diablo? Oh. So when the next expansion drops and we stay at level 100 but have to get a Paragon level 10 to be eligible for blah, 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 blah. So do you guys think that Paragon levels are next in Warlords, after Warlords? No.
I'm pretty sure what we're going to hear about at BlizzCon is how leveling is out of control, like the stats were, and we're going to see a level squish.
It's a level squish. Level squish.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody goes back to level 10.
Okay. Gotcha. So
and then it's one level per expansion, so they're set up for the next 89 expansions, 90 expansions, so we're good to get back to 100.
Oh man.
So the next expansion is level 10 to 11.
I like it. I do. I like it a lot. And Treckie, you just say flat out no.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen, because you're gonna identify yourself as then, I'm Paragon level 80 or whatever. It's like, no, well, you're level 100, level 80. That just makes no sense. Much easier to say level 110.
Right, I think so too. So, all right, that's gonna do it then. So that's gonna do it for the show. But before we get out of here, let's give a little shout out to our listeners, our friends, stuff like that, who recently gave us a 5-star review on iTunes. And Darius, I think we have somebody there, don't we?
We have one. It's from Opcool and Dragonblade.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. And thanks for all the comments and questions on the YouTube stuff that we do all the time. There were quite a few from the last show. Quite a number of comments. Some were very polite. Others not so much.
Some were not.
Others not so much. But we appreciate you guys anyway. Any shout-outs or anything like that, guys? I know that I have one shout-out, and that is, well, actually a couple. I have one to you, Trekkie. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Yeah, anytime. And good luck to you in BlizzCon on the rating panel and just kind of everything that's going on during that week. That's going to be a lot of fun. And if you ever want to go to Disney, make sure to grab Dairies because he's a big fan of Disney. He'll tell you everything about it you ever need to know, ever. So
you can come with us. You can come with us, Treckie.
Yeah. We rated Disneyland last year. I think we're going to do it again this year.
Yeah, I did not have time to do it last year because I was only there 3 days. So that's kind of why I'm staying for 3 weeks this time.
Wow, 3 weeks. That's craziness. All right. And I also want to give a big shout out to you guys, the guys in the chat room, to the guys listening to the show right now. Thank you very much. We cannot do this show without you. And thank you for taking the time to rate us, to talk to us, to email us, all that kind of good stuff. And please feel free to join in on all the conversations we're having at any time. I'm gonna get rid of the music
in a constructive way.
I'm gonna just bail on the music. So there. And I'm going to play...
You're just going to bail on it?
Yeah, I'm just going to bail on it. I'm just going to bail out.
Just like that?
Yep. You can email us at converttораid@gmail.com. You can call us and leave comments and questions on our raid line, 612-787-RAID. That's 612-787-7243. You can follow us on Twitter at converttораid, or even individually, right? Dairies?
You can follow Pat Krane at Pat Krane, that's with a K. You can follow Coltrane at _Coltrane, that's with a K. And you can follow Dairies at BoredMine without a K.
And you can follow Treckie at Method Treckie, right?
Yes.
And where else can people find you? Because you're streaming all the time too, right?
I stream at Twitch TV/Treckie, and it's been 8 to 12 hours a day this past week, so we're gonna probably try to keep up that in all of 6.0 until I go to US. So.
Wow. So make sure to go to his channel, check out what he's doing. He's doing all sorts of stuff over there. And you can join the Bazuba Goabo Nation by heading over to converttораid.com. Remember, we've got donations over there. We've got the t-shirts. We've got all of this stuff. So as soon as you get over there, you'll see it. It'll drop down. It'll make you read it. And you can tell it to go away if you want to, and just join us over there at converttораid.com, where we have show downloads, forums, tons of links for raiders, and so much more. It's all over at converttораid.com. Our live feed and video show is also on gamebreaker.tv. Please make sure to watch, like, comment, and all that kind of stuff you do with YouTube videos. And the audio show is everywhere. It's out in space, even.
On the internet.
It is on the internet and beyond. That is going to do it for the show. We hope you had a good time. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time, which I believe will be next week at our regular time, Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And for all the guys at Convert to Raid, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.